beautiful life journey that will stop when I stop. And I'll just smash buttons randomly trying to help her. This is like the Rolls Royce of the studio, this thing.
One note, it's like all these different overtones on top.
Hello and welcome to the Home Recorded Music Podcast. Thank you for listening, liking and subscribing. My name is Shane Blade and today I am joined by the very talented music duo Beyond the Lake. Welcome my guests, Anita Quayle and Nick Delaney. Hello, Nick and Anita.
Hello, Shane.
Hi, Shane.
I want to know how you got into music.
I got into music shortly after I was at VCA. I started joining a whole heap of bands. So I left VCA and played in bands for the rest of the time. So it's kind of how I got my true calling.
Okay, and have you been playing the cello since you were young?
Since I was 12.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
So long time. Nice.
Yeah.
And what about you, Nick?
I still love the band ZZ Top. It was a bit of a thing. I had a thing with ZZ Top. LaGrange was a great song. But this is going to sound really random, but we used to have these big laundry baskets, these cane laundry baskets with these big circular lids. And I would get a couple of these lids out and get a couple of sticks from the backyard and I'd put on ZZ Top and I'd just move my hands around like this going, yeah, man, I'm a drummer. That sort of started it. And then I think my parents realized that maybe they could buy me a real drum kit at some point. So yeah, I started with that and then the love was there and never stopped.
What about influences?
My earliest stuff was blues rock and a bit of funk. So it was like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Chili Peppers, Pearl Jam, Rage Against the Machine, Tool. A lot of that sort of stuff was where I really sort of started my love when I sort of moved on to bass guitar and stuff like that.
What about you, Anita?
My influences were probably from the classical world when I first began playing the cello. So some of my favorite composers were J.S. Bach and Edward Elgar. The composers from the 19th century Romantic era were particularly favorites of mine. So I guess I brought that with me through into more contemporary music. I still feel like I'm a classical player, but with a modern influence.
Classical music is obviously, one of the first things to come, and it obviously influenced all music to some degree. Classically kind of toned rock songs, and even if you look at things like Metallica or something, maybe as an example,
like even like the harmony, like a lot of the metal, there's a lot of classical harmony going on there.
I noticed your bass guitar, it doesn't have a head on it, and It's got a lot of strings.
Yes, I've got both in the background. So I've actually got a 5-string bass, and the guitar I play in the duo is an 8-string guitar. That goes down like 2 strings lower than a standard guitar, which basically puts you in a bass register. So I'm kind of able to get like loads of range on that instrument.
With those guitars, without the head on it, so you do the tuning from the bottom, is that correct?
Yeah, from the bridge. So I'll grab this guy. So the tuning happens down here on these saddles.
Right.
And you just sort of like lock in the end there. The main thing is it's just so light. And approaching 50, Shane, comfortability is my main thing these days. It's like,
sure.
Yes. Can I play it for 2 hours and not feel like I've been hit by a truck? So that's what this guy's all about. And I've just got the same model, but in a bass. But yeah, I just love these guys. These are Kiesel guitars from America.
The cello that you've got, is that something that's unique as well?
It's an electric instrument made by Yamaha, and it's one of their later models. So they've really kind of refined the process of tone. And so I use that, but I use it in conjunction with what's called a Headrush pedal board. So it's an effects board and looper. I further crafted the EQ. So it actually, we really kind of wanted it to make it sound like an actual cello rather than a synthetic cello. So we've done a lot of work in the EQ section of the Headrush pedal board to kind of sculpt that sound even further. And it's amazing. It's the most fun to play. It's so responsive, just a dream to play. Each note, the tone is perfect. It's like doing no work at all. It just plays itself. So it's
unreal.
Yeah.
I think because it's light as well, or is
no? It's actually heavier than
is it?
I guess like the big sort of strip down the middle that sort of
where all the circuitry is.
So the pickup and everything is behind that. So it's pretty hefty.
But it doesn't cost $30,000 to replace. So that's good.
As the band Beyond the Lake, I know this is a pretty general question, but in terms of a genre, where would this sit if you could put it somewhere?
It's a tough one. I've never seen an accurate genre come up in the listing. When you pull up a drop-down listing in iTunes or Spotify, it's like
no.
None of those really nail it. But it's like,
I would say it's sort of verging on neoclassical ambient, because especially the record that we've just released, it's really quite composed. So all of the arrangements have been really well thought out, whereas in our live stream performances, it's all improvisation.
And you mentioned the new album. Do you want to talk about that?
We've just popped that out. We did a launch at the TOFF in Melbourne at the end of April. So it's a studio album that we have produced coming off the back of, we did, I think, in the first lockdowns, 2020, we did, I think, over 50 live streams to Facebook, YouTube. Okay. That's where we sort of developed our repertoire and our musical relationship. But as Anita said, that was all improvised. And we went trawling through 50 plus hours of music and found what we thought were the nicest moments, nice melodies, nice chord progressions. And then we just went to work fleshing them out. We sat here in the studio and we recorded all the cello. We used the acoustic cello for as much of the recording as we could with a beautiful microphone, because you just can't replace that sound. And then I got on with my guitars and a little bit of, some sort of sound library, orchestral pianos, bits and pieces like that. So we've put all that together and we've got CDs. It's up on all the online stuff. It's in Bandcamp and Spotify, iTunes, all the places where you press buttons and listen to music.
Coming Home by Beyond the Lake. I'm going to leave some links in the description for anyone watching. Go and check that out. What kind of recording methods did you use?
Yeah, so we used the cello with I've got this guy here, so I'm going to give a little plug to a mate of ours. So this is an OPR, which is open plane recording. Mark Chigiro from Melbourne hand makes these microphones.
Wow.
This is the clone of a AKG CK12. This is like the Rolls Royce of the studio, this thing. So we got that sat in front of the cello for everything. Everything else was just done in the box, as they say. So I've got a fractal amp effects modeling system, and I use that for all my guitars and all the basses, and then just some sound libraries. All of that's done on Reaper. So we're using Reaper as our chosen DAW.
Is Reaper, you can just get that online?
I did Pro Tools for about 10 years. Then at some point, after owning it for 10 years, they asked me to start paying them regular money to update it. And I found that very distasteful. So you can get Reaper, you can get a license to use Reaper for $90 and you're done. And I've been getting updates every month for, it's been like 6 years now. You've worked with a lot of them, and every DAW has certain strengths and weaknesses, and it's all what you know, but I'm still yet to come across anything I want to do in Reaper that I can't. I'm able to do everything. There's things that it has from Logic, it's things that it has from Pro Tools. It's highly customizable, so you can really set it up to look and act however you want. So for me, it's just hands down bang for your buck.
It's so interesting. I literally have done 10 of these now, and every single person will say something different. It's either Studio One, Pro Tools, Ableton, Logic, Reaper. Funny how everyone just uses a different thing. And I think that's really cool.
I think it's like workflow. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're fast and you know how to work the DAW, it doesn't matter. Like they don't, it's not like they really sound dramatically different. If you know where all the buttons are and you know how to do all the stuff and you can edit and work and record and produce quickly, bring it on. I think that's why people stay, like I did 10 years of Pro Tools. It was hard to merge. But once I did, I was happy.
I think you're right. It's just getting comfortable with an interface, a certain interface.
Anita uses Logic on her Mac, and I'm on PC here. And quite often I'll go over and I'll just smash buttons randomly trying to help her because I don't know how to do it with Logic. So there's a bit of a learning curve.
And is there any particular plugins that either of you use that is your go-to, whether it's for vocals, whether it's for cello?
Yeah, I mean, I've got some absolute go-tos. So this is actually a session from one of our tracks off the album. I have this guy, which is a Waves plugin, the Shep's Omnichannel. I found this about 2 years ago. A friend of mine got me onto it. It's an absolute ripper because it's got little channels. So you've got like a preamp stage, a gate, a de-esser, an EQ and a comp. You can insert your own. So I sometimes, I'll insert like a multi-band compressor in there. It's just got a beautiful saturation on the preamp. The compressor, you can do VCA, FET, or optical preamp compression. Really, really nice. Just as a great general housekeeping, I kind of have that on almost everything. Quite into the NLS channel strips from Waves and their bus. So I put a little channel strip on each track, and that sort of just emulates, like I'm using a Neve emulator because the Neve's quite clean. And then you can run them all through a bus on the master. So that's a lot about just giving it that analog warmth.
Like with what we were saying with the different layouts, different programs you use, it really is about just having the ability to be able to do layers in the first place, just to be able to record your drums, your bass, your guitar, or whatever,
Yeah, I feel like I've looked at sessions that I did before with another band that I did, like my own project. The plugin lists are just ginormous. They're just, the CPU is maxed out, and it's me not really knowing how to get a good sound at the beginning. I can comfortably say that I must be getting better because there's less plugins. That's what I think. Or I'm going deaf. I don't know.
Anita, you mentioned before about the effects pedal you use for your cello. What is that effects pedal?
It's by a company called Headrush.
Headrush, yeah.
Yeah, American company. It's really like a guitar bass effects pedal board, but the reason it was so appealing is the fact that it has this built-in EQ, perfect for using on any instrument, because if you know frequency spectrum of your instrument and what works and what resonates best for that instrument, you can really go in and really start shaping that sound according to your specific instrument. So then when you add all the effects on top, so I will use an octave pedal, which is like an octave below the note that I'm playing. I'll use a couple of different delays, sort of short and long reverbs. There's also a sort of like a shimmer delay effect, which has these sort of overtone harmonics.
Yeah, like harmonic delay, very nice. I think a lot of companies call them crystals, these sort of delaying artifacts that are really toppy and sort of go up in pitch.
Yeah, I've got a pedal here. It's called the Keeley Caverns or something, and it's got that shimmer effect on it, and you can switch it on, and it kind of goes and makes it sound like this kind of eerie.
Oh yeah. I need to just play one note for half an hour.
Well, that's it. One note. It's like all these different overtones on top, so that's great for kind of droning passages and things like that too.
Yeah,
it really gives
cool.
a three-dimensional effect. Yeah, so that in conjunction with it has a basic looper function as well. Built in, so you can add as many layers as you like, but it doesn't have the ability to be able to store those loops on this particular.
Okay.
So you're basically creating loops on the fly, basically. Whereas Headrush has brought out another pedal board which is specifically for looping, which Nick uses in our band, and so that's. The capabilities of that is just extraordinary and so flexible.
What have you learned recently, whether it's a plugin or whether it's a recording technique or anything like that?
I've been getting more into melody stuff lately. So I've been sort of studying and brushing up on how to create interesting melodies over chords. So for me, look, as a guitar player, one of the most comfortable things to do is play a pentatonic scale. I think anyone who plays guitar will understand that the pentatonic scale just falls under your fingers and everyone can play it. But I've been working with playing the pentatonic scale off notes that aren't the root note of the chord you're playing. And it's really fascinating because it gives you color and intervals that you wouldn't get by playing the standard pentatonic. I can play like a classic minor pentatonic scale, which everyone knows is this bluesy sort of sound. But if I play it off the major third of a chord, so if I'm playing a C major chord, I play an E minor pentatonic scale, I get all the rich colors. I get the major 7, I get the 9th, all these beautiful intervals, but the thing I don't get is the root note. And there's something really interesting about having melodies that stay in the air and keep color and tension and don't ground down to the root note. The root note almost starts sounding bad if you've been avoiding it for a while, which is really weird. So that's my little trip that I've been sort of getting into lately, just to create melodies that keep you up in the air and interested.
I've been doing a series of live improvisations on Instagram and stuff, just exploring the avenues of what's possible with the looper. And as a way also trying to kind of hone in on my arranging skills. I did a series of sketches called on Instagram, which I ended up getting a grant through Regional Arts Victoria to continue doing that. So yeah, until then I hadn't really thought of myself as someone who could perhaps do this solo. So it's really exploring that idea of being this sort of one-person band with my looper and effects pedal boards.
Just recently, I've been busking a lot, and I was given this kind of tin drum. It's this like a little tin drum, and it's got 8 notes on it. And I thought I'd bring it along with me just for the hell of it to my busking, because I play guitar. I pulled it out, and then I just started playing like a drop D. With the other hand, I'd play this little tin drum on my knee. So I've done this maybe 10 times now. I do it as my last song sort of thing, just for 5 minutes as a little improv. It somehow turned itself into a little song, you know, with this like keeping the tempo with the guitar, or, you know, dun, 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 on the drop D, and then going round. It's not a looper, but it gives me that sense of being able to do 2 things at once. Some lady stopped today and listened to it for the first time for the whole song, and I was like, it just felt good. It's nice as you grow as a musician, just when you think you kind of like can get bored of it, there's always another angle or a direction you can go with music that can kind of inspire you. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things that we have as musicians is that.
100%. Like I teach pretty much full time, and I'm always going on at my students about how music is the never-ending journey. The best thing for me about it is that I'm actually never going to stop working at it, learning, trying new things. Like there's actually no end. There's really no end unless you just stop trying. It's a beautiful life journey that will stop when I stop.
Can I get you guys to let us know where we can find you all over the internet so that people can get a hold of all your musics?
All the socials, Beyond the Lake. I was on Instagram, on Facebook. We've got a YouTube channel, Beyond the Lake, which all of our live streams are up on. The album is available through Bandcamp, which is the preferable place to go. But of course, it's also on every streaming platform you can possibly imagine.
I have my own Instagram page, so I work with a lot of other projects as well. So Anita Quayle, yeah.
Anita Quayle. All right, cool. I'm going to leave all those links in the description for everyone to find them, so you can go and check all those out. It has been an absolute pleasure to talk with you guys today. Thank you very much for watching the Home Recorded podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Go and check out Beyond the Lake with Anita Quayle and Nick Delaney. And until next time, keep rocking, keep rolling, rah.